Now let us discuss various immunodeficiency that occur due to combined B and T cell disorders. So various disorders that occur due to B and T cells combined disorder are severe combined immunodeficiency, Ataxia telangiectasia, Hyperism syndrome, and Viscot syndrome. So these are the four diseases that occur due to B and T cell disorder. We will discuss this each and every diseases in detail. Now let us discuss about the severe combined immunodeficiency. The severe combined immunodeficiency are of several types. The most common is of that defective interleukin 2R gamma chain, which is the most common, and it is the X-linked recessive. So adenine deaminase deficiency is also one of the severe combined immunodeficiency, which is the autosomal recessive. The main defect is that there is RAG mutation, which leads to the VDJ recombination defect. The presentation of the severe combined immunodeficiency is that there is failure to thrive, chronic diarrhea, there is thirst, there is recurrent viral, bacterial, fungal, and protozoal infection. The findings in the severe combined immunodeficiency is that there is decrease of T cell receptor excision circles, and there is absence of the thymic shadow in the chest X-ray. The germinal center in the lymph node biopsy and the T cells in the flow cytometry, you can see there is absence of the germinal center. There is those germinal centers are the ill developed in the lymph node biopsy. Now let us talk about the Ataxia telangiectasia. You can see in the figure also in the face, in the cheek, you can see the telangiectic changes. So the main defect is in the ATM gene, which leads to failure to detect the DNA damage, which leads to the failure to halt progression of the cell cycle, and ultimately leads to the mutation accumulation. So it is the autosomal recessive disorder. The main presentation of the Ataxia telangiectasia is cerebellar defect, the spider angioma. So this spider angioma you can see in this figure. This is also known as the telangiectasia. There is the IgA deficiency, and there is also the increased sensitivity to radiation. So we should limit the X-ray exposure to the patient with Ataxia telangiectasia. So the findings will be the increase of AFP, decrease of IgA, IgG, and IgE. There is the lymphopenia and cerebellar atrophy. There is increased risk of lymphoma and leukemia in the patient with Ataxia telangiectasia. In the Hyperism syndrome, there is the Hyperism syndrome occurs most commonly due to the defect in the CD40L on the T helper cells, which leads to the class switching defect. It is the X-linked recessive. The presentation in the Hyperism syndrome is that there is severe pyogenic infection in the early life, and there is also opportunistic infection with pneumocystic cryptosporidium and cytomegalovirus. The findings in the Hyperism syndrome is that there is normal or increased amount of the IgM, there is very decreased amount of the IgG, IgA, and IgG. There is failure to make the germinal center in the people with the Hyperism syndrome. Now let us talk about Viscot syndrome. There is the mutation in the WAS gene. The leukocyte and the platelets are unable to recognize the actin cytoskeleton, which leads to the defective antigen presentation. So it is the X-linked recessive disorder. The presentation in this syndrome is that there is thrombocytopenia, eczema, recurrent pyogenic infection, and there is increased risk of autoimmune disease and the malignancy with this syndrome. The findings will be that there is decrease to normal IgG and IgM, but increased amount of the IgE and IgA. There is fewer and the smaller platelets in the patient with Viscot syndrome. So in this video, we discuss about various B and T cell disorder that lead to the immunodeficiency. We discuss about the severe combined immunodeficiency, Ataxia telangiectasia, Hyperism syndrome, and Viscot syndrome. So I hope you understood this topic on the immunodeficiency on B and T cell disorder. Thank you.